Good evening and welcome to this very special program. So let's talk politics. A program brought to you by the People's Progressive Party. I'm your host, Micheal Gordon. And there are a number of issues that falls within the realm of the body politic in our beloved country, Guyana. And some of those issues we would like to bring to the fore on a daily basis as we address what has been happening, what has happened, and what is likely to happen within the political realm or the political sphere of our country. This evening, I want to discuss a number of issues. I have directly with me, sitting across from me, Mr. Gaspar, Lennox Gaspar. Lennox, I want to welcome you to this discussion. This is not an interview program, but we'll be discussing a lot of issues surrounding politics. And joining us virtually is Mr. Halim Khan. He is in Region 3, very senior business leader in the region, the West Demerara Essequibo Islands region. Halim, welcome to this program.
Very good night to all of you.
Yes, good night, Halim.
Before we get into the meat of the matter, gentlemen, and this is will be done in no order. I want to commend His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali for the leadership that he has demonstrated since his assumption to office. I had the distinct honor of seeing Dr. Ali mature politically, coming forward from the days of the PYO, his leadership in the PYO, his leadership in the wider People's Progressive Party, his leadership in the National Assembly, his leadership at the Public Accounts Committee, his leadership on the campaign, and now his leadership as President of Guyana. I also want to make an utterance that I made to him early in the week. And I thanked him for his leadership. And because I did that, gentlemen, because I believe Dr. Ali, President Ali, has emerged not only as a leader of Guyana. I think with his stature, his regional stature and status as we speak, he has emerged as one of the leading statesmen in the Caribbean. So he has now become a leader of leaders in the region, and not just in the Caribbean and beyond. My reference to that must be juxtaposed against the leadership he has been bringing to not just locally, it's a foregone conclusion, but the leadership he has been bringing to the relief efforts for the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the care and compassion he has uttered and demonstrated to the government and people of Barbados also. And I want to publicly thank him for that leadership. And I believe his administration has demonstrably shown that Guyana is in good hands. Guyana has returned to a place where it is being looked up to. And I want us to start off tonight's discussions addressing the relief efforts that Guyana has been giving leadership to, to the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And before any of you jump in here, I'd like to thank those of you who are watching this program, whether it's in Guyana, across the Caribbean, or in other areas of the diaspora, North America, whether it be in the U.S., the tri-state area in New York and other areas, as well as Canada, London. I welcome you all to this program, a special program brought to you by the People's Progressive Party. We will continue this program on a nightly basis. We'll discuss these and other issues. So, gentlemen, let's get into the discussions of tonight. The leadership President Ali, and his administration has been showing across the region. Gentlemen, Halim?
Yes. As you said before, first of all, let me say good night to all the viewers out there. And you all know that President Irfan Ali, as Your Excellency Irfan Ali, we know that leadership is not new to him. We have seen him in Ministry of Housing, we have seen him in tourism, and we have seen his leadership when he took office. And when he took office, his ministers, which he have his cabinet members, were carefully chosen to make sure to fulfill the manifesto, and we have seen it that most of the ministers until now, from since this foreign until now, they're on the ground. They are not sitting in any office, and that is the best way you will see his leadership in sending his cabinet ministers out to make sure to know what the people, what are their needs. I don't know if any parts of the Caribbean or any leader in the Caribbean has that quality, or have that quality. What our president has here is Excellency Muhammad Irfan Ali. We have seen it through the months, and we have seen that he is a down-to-earth guy. I will say that everybody should understand that. And we have seen in many regions of this country to demonstrate that great leadership of his. And one of the best way he have done that is to reach out to the people. And then he put Guyana first. He did not put his cabinet member first in terms to raise their salary and let them live better off than the people of Guyana. They stick with the salary they have, and to make sure that the people of Guyana, and with him taking office from then to now, any part of Guyana you can visit, you will see that there is improvement. When I say there is improvement, whether it be water, whether it be housing, whether it be roads, in terms of the agri sector too, also agriculture play a very major role in our country here. And we have seen the amount of money also he allocated to make sure that agriculture stay on top too. In fact, $12 billion alone would only go to NDIA and also to processing plant. So we have seen that great leadership in him for the months there. And
Halim,
I wouldn't go on anymore.
I want to jump in here, and I want us to get to the very evident and tangible benefits and developmental initiatives that we've seen so far. We're going to get to that, but I want to give Lennox an opportunity to address the issue of leadership that Dr. Ali and his administration have been demonstrating. Not just locally, and you made a very good point. One of the comments you made, it really jumped out at me, because when it actually happened, I cringed as a person, I cringed as a Guyanese, and I am comparing the selflessness of today against the selfishness of raising your own and your ministers' salaries as one of the first orders of priority on the assumption of office. I cringe at the ridiculousness of it, at the expense of the people of Guyana, many of whom continue to support you, nevertheless. But we're going to get there. I just want us to address the issue first, and I asked Trevor to jump in here. Lennox,
Lennox,
sorry,
right.
to jump in here
All right.
on the issue of leadership we've been showing across the region and the leadership we have shown in relation to the relief efforts for St. Vincent and the
All
Grenadines.
right. Thank you very much,
Lennox.
Michael. And let me say good night to everyone that's listening to the program, and also good night to Salim. And I want to join in agreeing and also lauding the efforts of government and of His Excellency the President with regards to having the foot soldiers, the men on the ground. And Salim made mention of that. And we have seen that kind of a connection, that kind of a synergy between government and private sectors. And that would have resulted in the quick action of government being able to send relief to the St. Vincent and also to Barbados in the shortest possible time. I mean, to be able to get together or a shipload basically of various items to be able to send over to those persons, those citizens in the situation at this time. It takes great leadership. But again, this would have come or been made possible because of the very start of government from Jump Street. They have been in and among the people. And at the end of the day, any government that sits in office must understand that your first obligation is to the people. And once you spend that time to be among the people, to understand the people, whenever you have a need to help to reach someone else, they are always ready. They're always there. They're always willing because that connection is already built. That synergy has already been established. And so it becomes easy. And that is the reason why this administration is seeing that ease in leadership, because their style and method of leadership is totally different from previous leadership.
Again, and I'm going to be picking up on some of the points you guys are making, because I believe some of these issues really need to be brought to the fore. Again, they have been brought to the fore. But for the sake of emphasis, I don't think that we should deny our viewing and our listening public reminders about the ridiculousness of the APNU AFC's approach. And you spoke to the issue of going to the people. And let's use the whole notion of squatting and housing development. Halim, you also spoke about Dr. Ali's track record in the housing sector. In fact, quite arguably, he can be referred to as perhaps one of the architects of the current housing sector of Guyana. And we examined the APNU AFC's record in government as it relates to housing development. What you saw, guys, there was reference to there was a fancy word given. Oh, we're going to be getting involved in duplex houses, duplex housing, and the government is going to be building duplex housing. I kid you not, many people were not fooled. It's a fancy term being used for range houses, as we know.
Okay.
In East and West Rheinveld and those places. It's a modern way of describing range houses. That it's a mentality. It's a philosophical and ideological mentality that essentially does not cater, cannot conceptualize or fathom the whole notion that a very ordinary man and woman, husband and wife, can, or woman, can own his or her own home on his or her own land. And have that self of independence and ownership. I find it difficult that the leadership of a major political party in this country struggles to understand and fathom that notion.
That is because there is a disconnect.
Notwithstanding that, There wasn't a single new housing development between 2015 to 2020, between 2015 and August 2020. What you found was the distribution of a few house lots, which would have completed some programs already started prior to 2015. Furthermore, and I'm personally offended, that a political leader in the person of former President David Granger says to the people, I am promising you, once re-elected, we are going to be opening new lands for new housing schemes. We are going to be doing this, we're going to be doing that. And the one that jumped out more at me, gentlemen, is the promise of the establishment of a squatter resettlement commission. I hear it as though it was just said. It's an insult. It's an insult to the people along West and East Front Road. Because you're going to the polls a
Yes.
couple mornings in Guyanese paradigm, couple morning before you go to the polls.
Yeah, you dangle the carrot in front of the
You
people.
dangle the carrot in front of the donkey and tell the people of this country, oh, I'm going to establish this as a squatter settlement commission, a squatter settlement commission. A commission does not provide housing. A squatter settlement commission does not open new lands, new roads, new developments. So your point, I said all of that to say, your point of going to the people and highlighting the style of governance of the People's Progressive Party Civic is drastically opposed
Yes.
to the way in which the APNU AFC did it. You saw the remembrance of the people, I have to put it that way, when the time had come for us to go to the polls. So the people became the central focus then.
Yes, because you need their votes.
Right. So,
But before-
gentlemen, it's. I don't want to be the one talking all the time, but I'm very emotional about these issues, and perhaps I can't promise to be not to become more emotional as we address some other issues within the political sphere tonight. Halim, your thoughts on this, especially the housing development, the APNU's approach and the PPP's approach?
Well, in Guyanese storm, they say saying and doing is two different things. And we have seen that what the APNU AFC had promised in 2015, what they will do for the Guyanese person, the Guyanese people. We have seen that the programs which was left off by the PPP administration, PPVC, we have seen that those same programs which they have used to finish off those programs, there is no other programs which they have put in place for vote for me and I will give you proper housing, the good life. What we realize from the good life is that the good life, they took the good life and give the people of Guyana the ordinary life. And I don't see no house joined together. I would say that Guyana have lots of land. And joining these duplex, having these duplex together, we have seen in Georgetown, we have seen that those duplexes was built in their administration, not prior to 1992. But the condition of them, people started do those in their own fashion or remove those duplex and so on. We have seen also, if we compare with the housing for the people of Guyana, we have seen that from 2015 to 2020, there is almost zero. I will put that as zero because since the PPPC have took this administration took office with the leadership of Dr. Irfan Ali, we have seen that leadership which we have took comparing in just a few months with 5 years of APNU AFC, we have seen that the amount of house lots which have been allocated to its citizens or citizens of this country, we have seen the comparison with it is way past in 5 years, which the PPPC have done in a few months. Voting, at the time of voting, you'll find that they promise the people all sort of things. But then, if you look back and what they promised, the APNO AFC, what they have promised the people concerning housing, we have seen until today they're very supporters. And you have seen also there's many of the supporters protesting against them concerning what they have promised, the good life. But what they have done is they took away that good life from the people and make themselves the better life for themselves. So to compare in the housing here area here, and let us speak as Region 3, we have a lot of land here. And there's 50,000 house lots, which we allocated to, of course, not just to people, the citizens of this country, not just Region 3. And then with all that we said about the 50,000 house lots, we have seen many progress in the private sector because they have confidence in the government of today. We have seen that rise in the economy. We have seen that people are confident that they start to rebuild, start to exert businesses and so on. And whereas in 2015, soon as a few months, what they have done, they have put hardship on the people of Guyana in terms to increase their taxes. When you increase the taxes on the businesses, let's go a little bit on the private sector. When you increase the taxes on the private sector, it means that the consumers have to pay for it. And we have seen that how much damage they have done to this country in the 5 years which they have taken office.
Those are some
I
very
don't know
important.
Lennox if you want. I don't know Lennox if you want to add a little bit on that.
Well, certainly. The thing is, they are what I would call leadership style. You have to be tactful. You have to understand. And as I would have mentioned in a previous program, I expected that a brigadier would understand how to be tactful, how to have a strategy and to work a strategy. But
Well, he said it's in his back pocket, in fairness to him.
apparently it's still there,
Yeah.
right? When
But I'm sorry to keep interrupting. You have to find him to find
to
his back
find it,
pocket.
right, see, that's where the problem is. You moved into office in 5 years instead of building that connection with the people. You would have created that distance. And it went right back to that very situation that you would have mentioned earlier regarding the hike for the ministers, and you left the people open. In my opinion, in my humble position, looking on at that decision, I would have thought in order to win the people, if you really have a strategy, if you have this plan, and you want to be tactful, you would probably make public servants, let's say teachers, nurses, have priorities in terms of land and housing and these kind of things. You would create and be a government basically for your business sector, because there must be a connection always established between business and government. All right? And like Halim mentioned, once you put the pressure on business people, it will shift. Business people are always known to doing that, right? It's the nature of business. It will shift to the consumer. So you make the small man more uncomfortable rather than making the businesses comfortable. So in the exchange, your people will benefit. And again, if you were able to make the ground pliable enough for the businesses, they can be able to help you in the job creation, help you also in terms of having persons have that dollar to circulate and things to start happening within your economy. When those things are absent, then right away you start feel the struggle, you start feel the pressure, but you're hearing of a good life, but you are not seeing that good life. It's like chasing the skies, you know. And that is what creates a problem. So when you move into office, the very first thing you do is to raise the minister's salary. When you could have been able to say, all right, we have soldiers protecting 83,000 square miles, and a lot of them don't even have 100 by 50. A lot of them, they have family, but they don't own 100 by 50. You have nurses and teachers that have been in the profession for years. And some of them, even though they get duty free, they cannot afford to take advantage of it because of the financial situation. So it's just there when there are also other things. That could have been made a priority. So when you come onto the job, this is what we're going to do. We're going to introduce a policy or a strategy where when you're hired within the public system, as part of your application going into the system, they must be attached to land form. And this will transcend from with the various office that you're working into housing. That will be dealt with a special office whereby as long as the person performed, they're functioning, they've been confirmed on the job, that document goes back to them and says, sir, madam, you have your land is ready. And then you enter them into a system whereby they now can, through their salary, have that property erected and a small finance being deducted, and it's all well and good. When you finish setting the people and creating that comfortable zone for the people, then you can look at yourself. But you would first look at yourself and then tell the people, we really got an apology. We didn't want people to put their hand in the kitty. What are you saying to the people indirectly? That they had elected a bunch of thieves to take office? Is that going to be the statement, the excuse that you're going to go to tell the people, we don't want them to put a hand in the kitty? Okay, then.
So you pay them extra.
So you pay them extra. And it still didn't make a difference, because look at what happened when government changed hands. Look at what went on in the media. Who didn't present themselves with big bangles? Who didn't make themselves comfortable with bed sheets and traveled all over the expense of the people? So did it help? The strategy is still in the back pocket.
Halim?
Yes. We have seen at the time of pandemic in 2020, when the coronavirus now started. And we have seen Guyana now, in the time of pandemic, we have seen that Guyana is the only country in the world which is moving forward with a great leadership of our president. There is no other country in the world saying that there are development going on presently now because of the pandemic. And as I said before, we have seen that Guyana have played a role. The president, in fact, I'm talking about, he's a true Caribbean man. And going back to what you have said concerning the St. Vincent, the volcano, nobody have asked him for help. But he has offered his help as a true leader of the Caribbean and also a true Caribbean man. And we have seen in a couple of days how much stuff have been put together, items have been put together to help our sister island in the Caribbean, St. Vincent. And every leader should have that quality as what we have here in Guyana. We have seen that in 2020, we have seen that the farmers them have been neglected, and we have seen 2020 and before 2015 to 2020, the farmers have been neglected. We have seen it now that the man in he's living a much more comfortable life under this administration. So we must respect when we see someone of our president, this caliber, in terms of great leadership. We should not look at political party, which political party you may belong to. You would put Guyana first. You've seen that this leadership, what you have gotten in the past couple of months. So we must put Guyana first and make sure that we put all our effort, whether it be APNU, whether it be, and don't make a few guys from the other political party, APNU, AFC, say that you can win an election with technology. Technically, you could win it. Any election would win by vote. And we have seen that the votes, the person who have put them in, and also the person who have voted for the PPBC, we have seen that the togetherness which we are going through now to make Guyana a better place. We want to make sure not just the leadership, Irfan Ali, Dr. President Dr. Irfan Ali, we would like to see all of us have that interest in terms of development in our country. As I said before, in the time of pandemic, we have seen that Guyana is the only country which has been developing presently now, whether it be housing, whether it be in the private sector in terms of business and so on. And you see everybody going back to their business presently now. We have seen that. Like that.
Wherever you are, from Crabwood Creek to Maruka, from Georgetown to Deep South in the Rupununi, you're looking at Let's Talk Politics, a very special program brought to you by the People's Progressive Party. And I'm having some very insightful discussions with Mr. Lennox Gaspar and Mr. Halim Khan, both gentlemen who I've known pretty well and who have very good and deep insight into the goings on in the political realm in Guyana. There are some major issues I want to bring to the fore, but before I bring that, I want to point to the deflect strategy, usually and constantly and unfailingly attempted by the APNU AFC. And this one deals with, over the last 10 days, there was an attempt to stoke public fear, pushing a line of, there's a spate of kidnappings happening in Guyana. And they managed to get a few people on board who have since come back to the public and say, oh, we made a mistake, we were misguided, this is misinformation. It's a deflect game, it's a deflect strategy from the inexperience, ineptitude, and incompetence shown by the APNU AFC as the political opposition, as the main party in the political opposition. There are a few other parties in the political opposition. The APNU AFC has been failing miserably so far as a political opposition. And this issue of kidnapping was brought to the fore. Absolutely no police reports of kidnapping. Very visible decreases in serious crime. There are incidents of petty theft and robberies being captured on camera, on CCTV. And because and it's a very important part, because they are very visible, because of the phenomenon called CCTV now, they are being played up as an increase in crime. It shouldn't happen, but those things have been occurring all along. There's this narrative, there weren't these types of crimes committed on the APNU AFC. Are you kidding me? Who is naive enough to believe, on the assumption of office of the Granger administration, crime in Guyana is stopped? And it started back as of August 2nd, 2020. If the leadership of the APNU AFC had its way, this is what they would try to impart into the heads of Guyanese people. And it's hogwash. But the issue of kidnapping has been debunked by the Guyana Police Force. It has been debunked by many of the people who peddle the line, who have grown to realize that it's a false narrative. There hasn't been a single report of a kidnapping. There hasn't been a single report of an attempted kidnapping to the Guyana Police Force by anyone. There has been one allegation, one laughable allegation by one individual who himself peddles the line daily about kidnappings. And with a paucity of actual kidnappings, this individual, for all intents and purposes, seemed to have staged his own kidnapping and cannot prove his own kidnapping. And I said it's laughable, gentlemen, because indeed it is. It is something I think we ought to bring to the fore tonight to say to the Guyanese people. And I'm going to raise a conversation I had recently with one of my Facebook contacts. I noticed the young lady from the East Coast posted, "Why are they kidnapping people? This thing got to stop." And I asked some very pertinent questions. Can you point me to one report to the police of a kidnapping? Can you point me to one person who came on television and said I was kidnapped? Can you point me to one family who has said or came on television to say, my son, my daughter, my uncle, my brother has been kidnapped? Can you point me to one family who has said a ransom has been demanded? Can you point me to a police report to say there has been a kidnapping? Can you point me to one news story that says this person was kidnapped? I said, young lady, think for yourself. And she said, oh, you know, it's true. I said, don't take it for granted from me. Do some research for yourself. Go find the stories of the kidnappings. Oh, there was this incident with some white car being attempting to snatch two young ladies. Did the young ladies report this incident to the police? No, they didn't. Where did this come from? It came from a mischievous voice, as far as I'm concerned, emanating from Congress Place, which spoke essentially to 6 or 8 incidents of attempted kidnapping. Somebody used a show heel to fight off the kidnappers. Those are amateur kidnappers, man. It's laughable. It's an insult to the intelligence of the people of Guyana. It's an insult. And you should stop it. And I'm sure if you look back at your own utterances and your own recordings, you yourself will laugh. It's ridiculous. Gentlemen, from the issue of attempting to stoke public fear, and I'm going to go with you first, Lennox.
Michael, indeed, it's laughable. I mean, I got the WhatsApp message about this story with the nurses. At least that's how it came over to me from the WhatsApp, that is the nurses. And when I read the thing and I looked at the storyline, I myself started to laugh. And I'm like, okay then, now I hope these young ladies...
But Lennox, if you refer to it as a storyline, some people may take it as though it was actually a media story.
No, it's not a story.
I just want to refer to it as a false narrative.
It was a WhatsApp message. Basically, as a matter of fact, it's somebody who created the WhatsApp and then flashed it with a phone and sent it with some, actually like a photo. So you don't really, it's not like a direct message like how you would send a WhatsApp to someone and then they can bring that up as an evidence to say I was speaking with Micheal Gordon and this is what he sent me or what have you. No, it's a phone and a flash of the story, and then you carry it up and then you flash again and you post that out. So when I look at the thing, I zoom in, of course, like we would do with a photo. And I really think I started to laugh because there was clearly no case there. And then, of course, if Larry published a statement, there was nothing of the sort. It's a whole made up stuff. And the person that sent it to me, I said to them, look, if you're going to verify any information, you have to go to the established source. All right? Check Kaichor, check Stabrook, check Chronicle, check the main media houses. Are they carrying this thing? Is it on their page? Verify that before. Even before you share this with anyone else, because this sounds to me like somebody's making up or trumping up something. And I have a friend in London that usually is quick to post things on social media without even verifying. And he's one of the popular persons who would usually jump and throw things out into the media sphere. And within a 24-hour, 48 hours, it is debunked. And then the persons would laugh at him. And I would say, man, if you so want to be in this journalistic arena and into journalism, why don't you just go and get yourself informed, be taught, and at least know how to be able to bring your story together to verify your information before putting it out there. And that is the situation that you'll be having. So this is the kind of thing that you see coming out again from a body of people that does not have a plan, does not have a strategy, is not organized, and totally irresponsible.
You made a good point there, because the strategy as an opposition seemed to resemble somewhat the strategy of an APNO FC administration. Halim, are you with us? Did we lose Halim? Can you hear me, Halim?
Yes,
Of course, I should remind our viewers and listeners that Halim is joining us virtually. So we are entirely at the mercies of today's technology. So I'm sure he's going to join us back. Our technical team is very efficient, and they will ensure that we have him back. But there's a very important... Lennox, I tell you what, and to our viewers and our listeners, there are so many issues that I want to deal with tonight, but fortunately, we have an opportunity to address those issues. My colleague Edward Lane will join you tomorrow night, and then I will be back on Friday night, and we will interchange as we address these issues. But there's a very important issue, and as we say in Guyana, this is a wrong world we live in. And I'm saying that to say this, and I want to speak directly to our viewers. Remember the former Minister of Health, Valde Lawrence? Remember just over a year ago, there were hurried attempts to close our borders, and COVID-19 and protecting our people were used as an excuse. Remember the denial of the Carter Center and COVID-19 were used as an excuse to attempt to rig the elections 2020. And remember, there were so many instances, the Arthur Chung Conference Center, the shenanigans there, and COVID-19 was used. Well, guess what? Guess what? I've grown up hearing my mother say, and my wife liked to say as well, when dog accustomed to sucking egg, he don't know how to stop. So the PNC Congress can't be held because COVID-19 is being used. And the PNC supporters are saying to the PNC leadership, stop suppressing democracy. Granger, take your foot off of our necks. And with reference to PNC leader David Granger. And it is the same Walter Lawrence who attempted to use, as Minister of Health, use the pandemic for political purposes and to retain political power. Walter Lawrence now is possibly considerably referred to in many spheres in our society as the possible front runner for leadership of the People's National Congress. Now, potentially, it is the same Walter Lawrence who is being denied that opportunity to assume possibly leadership of the People's National Congress, because her leadership is now using her tricks of COVID-19 to delay the staging of the PNC Congress.
Yes.
How ironic. How ironic. Halim?
Well, it was the same leadership
He's having signal problem.
We're having some technology bugs. I'm going to bring back Halim shortly, but I'm going to pull your thoughts on this, Lennox.
Yes.
How ironic.
It is ironic, but as you said, when we say in Guyana it's a wrong world, what goes wrong comes wrong.
Yeah.
And so the same tactic they are going to use to be able to have their way. And it is the nature of the beast. It is the way they operate. I know one that is hopeful to become leader of the party by the name of Aubrey Norton. And all these are strategies that he would use and they would want to use to have their way. And of a truth, of a fact, within the inner workings of things, yes, Valda is hopeful to tip. But then, again, the same play, the same cards that you would have played when you had the pack or the deck, as they would say, the same way you shuffled and you played, it is played back to you now. How you deal with it, right? How you deal with it. And I believe that she knows what is going on and how the possibility of how that could affect her leadership. The idea now is, do you have a comeback? Do you have a comeback plan? But again, these are the things that are always showing out. Rather than allowing democracy to have its way, allow the people to come to cast their vote for whoever they would wish to lead. No. Things are always manipulated from beneath, behind the scenes. They are always the puppet masters to say, yes, this is how it must be. But it appears on the surface as though, I mean, obviously, what else to say? Oh, COVID. But there can be things to put in place, all right, let they come, or let the members come, and they can come in single file, or they can use different days based on sets and batch, and as they do with the pension where you give out to persons according to the name or the title, so all these things could have been done, right? But they don't want to have an election because persons want to hold on to power.
I want to refer to some of the placards. Well, of course, in protest and in opposition to the continued delay of the holding of the PNC Congress, as a group of protesters today converged on Congress Place and voiced their concerns, notwithstanding the fact that they were visibly hiding their faces. I want to refer to some of the things written on some placards, and they would read, give somebody else a chance. We're suffering, we're feeling it. I would want to think that's suffering within the realm of the party.
Mm-hmm.
One other placard said, Joe and David, stop denying democracy.
You see?
Another placard read, Mr. Granger, your knee is on our neck. Time for Congress. Another placard read, your time has passed. Stop dividing the party. Retire peacefully. And Mr. Granger, you're fighting to delay Congress, but couldn't fight who now is the government. Well, that's paraphrasing, of course. Based on my knowledge and own observations, I have drawn the conclusion that the former President David Granger takes great pride in being revered as an individual. This doesn't all go well for him, for his own personal psyche. But Halim, are you back with us? Because I would really love to pull your thoughts on this. Okay, so I gather that we've lost Halim. In any case, our time has almost passed in terms of our program time. It must be said that I believe the leadership of that party has done grave injustice to its supporters and its constituents, its constituencies. And there continues to be underperformance, a paucity of leadership, a paucity of vision, a clear lacking of leadership, as I said, to guide their supporters.
That is so true.
And I am comforted by the fact that Guyanese ain't stupid, Lennox. I'm comforted by that fact.
Exactly.
And I because of that comfort, I know people will recognize, as a very good friend of mine, who has now become a doctor, says, give Jackie jacket and James a skirt. Or a petticoat or something like that. The leadership of APNO FC has exposed itself. And it is being played out publicly. It's being played out to the detriment of its own supporters.
You know, Michael, let me just put something in here before we close. This situation that APNU is, PNC is faced with, is basically, it's not overnight. It is all because the way you treat people, how you value people, comes down to how you will be valued.
Well, you've had some first-hand experiences as a former member.
And this is the situation of years of what was happening on the inside. Now, I've been looking for years and been observing the way how the PPP would do things. They've always ensured they kept their issues on the inside. They've always reached out to their supporters to be able to mend a situation, because nobody sees themselves as lower than higher than anyone else. They reach out, because look at what happened the other day when the 6 councillors had resigned. When the leadership reached with them, had a discussion with them, and resolve that issue right away. These are not. This is not the same in the APN in the PNC. Why? Because somebody got friends with somebody, and so there is always a plot to. There is always a plot to come against you, and you may have a legitimate reason or cause for your disagreement or your disgruntlement, but nobody wants to hear it. Nobody have the time to come down to your level and to say, all right, let's mend this. Because you know where you value, Michael. Here goes the talk. Oh, there's just one vote. We could afford to lose this one vote. We could afford to treat Micheal Gordon anyhow. But one of the things you have to understand is that Micheal Gordon that you are seeing has a family. He has friends. He has person in his sphere, in his circle that he has influence over. And when you affect him, you affect them. And each of them have their persons within their sphere of influence that you automatically affect. And there is this ricochet effect that reaches off to the shore. Like when you drop a rock in the center of the still water, the ripple effect goes out right to the offshore. And that is what they have never seemed to realize and to work to appreciate the people. The people are your greatest resource. I looked at, I think it was 2001, I was working with GTV that time. 2001, 2002, when we had that protest in Linden at the bridge. And Jack Dio, first vice president, was the president then. And he came to Linden in the height of all of this. Even when, because I was close enough doing my camera work, and the security man was saying, Chief, you can't, we won't advise you go on the bridge because the security, I mean, people are all close and up to him. And he was like, these people ain't gonna do me anything. And they just want to be hard. They don't want a problem with the army or with the military force. He went on the bridge, sat with the people, sat on a saucepan, eat the people bake on the bridge, and was able to converse with them, tell them, get your leader up, get your group of people, let them come talk with me. We need to sort this out. And within a week, y'all gonna release the bridge. No force, no problem. When you look at things like that, that is leadership, that is strategy, that is tactfulness. And then watch at the same leader come back in a 5-year period and say, here, I got a plan. I got to strategize because we got to bring this. Start this program on the air. Once, I think it's once per week or once per month, and then increase to every day. But then you're not arguing wastefully. You're not throwing things out there that you could just speculate. Every day is a blow. Is a low blow. Every day is evidence. And that is strategy. You understand? That is a strategist.
Well, I must say I had the distinct honor of having a ringside seat to all of that. Unfortunately, Halim, you're rejoining us at a time when our time is gone. However, I want to pull your thoughts. Are you hearing me, Halim?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I want to pull your thoughts before we close on the chaos. I don't think I should dress it up. The chaos at Congress Place. Perhaps it sounds like a nice story title. The chaos at Congress Place happening now in relation to the non-holding of the PNC Congress, with, of course, the COVID pandemic being used as an excuse why the Congress can't be held. You see the leadership of the party sticking cake and hugging and mingling though on social media. But does that sound familiar? And of course I'm asking you this as we about to close the program. Does this sound familiar? We can't do this. We don't want these people here. We cannot have our democratic process. You cannot come back to Guyana. COVID. Does it sound familiar?
Yeah, this is exactly what happened in the last election. And I was saying before, just before I got cut off, is that whenever things go their way, Corona or the COVID-19 is not in effect. But if something is not going their way, they're going to blame it on COVID-19, as they're doing now at Congress Place. But the person must compare that when you elect a leader, you're not electing a god, because there's vote. There's people who come and vote. You don't have animals going to come and vote, and they're going to realize that where your leadership stands. And that is why those people in front Congress Place, why they're protesting, they realize now that what they have been doing for the election and after the election and during the recount and so on, that they were following a set of hypocrites and they were following a set of liars, and now they're getting a taste of their own medicine. So I think coming this other election in the next few years to come, you'll find that those people who they think that are their supporters right now at Congress Place, I think they will switch before that election and start to come in to develop Guyana. We don't want them to switch as an APNU person, but we want them to switch as a Guyanese, which would see Guyana move forward for the betterment for our children and our grandchildren and our generation to come. But if we follow those hypocrites, I must say, then they will leave. They are the only one who will be left back behind. So this is what happening is a taste of their own medicine, what they have given the PPP see at the time of the election, at the time of the recount, and all those court actions which they had. And finally, I want to say that thank you, Gordon, for having me on the show. But you kept me off guard here tonight. I wasn't that prepared. But it shows you that whatever I have in knowledge, is out there. And we should never, what we'd like to see in the future for Guyana to have a history book concerning our history. We should know the Caribbean history and don't know our history. So you would get somebody, we like to get someone to take on that task in doing a history book to know what went on in this election and Guyana since they become republic and independence. So our children in school could learn that. So we could teach our children that so they will know the history, what even went on in Guyana in 2020. And we intend to put monuments in all different regions. At least we forgot Democracy Monument 2020. Thank you very much.
It's a very good and solid note to end tonight's discussion on Lennox because I was very heartened. I got goosebumps while traveling along Homestretch Avenue earlier today when I saw the name Walter Rodney restored to the National Archives building, the Walter Rodney National Archives. It was taken away by the Granger administration for obvious reasons. Walter Rodney is no longer with us. For obvious reasons, his name should not be celebrated on a national institution or a national building. Well, his philosophy, Dr. Rodney's philosophy, cost him his life. And that same philosophy caused his name to be removed from a national building by the APNO AFC. So it's on the note of Dr. Rodney, the politician, the historian, the national hero, and your reference, Halim, to the need for us to understand our history, especially our recent history, especially our history on Guyana's track record and the political parties' track record on the whole notion of democracy. Very good note to end our program on. There are so many more topics that I want to discuss. I will be back on Friday, and I really want to address a very, very, very important topical issue on Friday night, very relevant to the social fabric of this beloved country of ours. We started off by referencing the leadership the Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali administration has been given as it relates to the relief efforts for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And you cannot not mention the leadership also given and the support given to Dr. Ali by the Honorable Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips, the Prime Minister of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, and of course, the Vice President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Dr. Barrett Jagdeo. The leadership support given to His Excellency the President in these and other initiatives as Guyana prepares to take off. So let's talk politics. A very special program, insightful program, hard-hitting program brought to you by the People's Progressive Party. I thank you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on Friday. But before then, join my colleague Edward Lane tomorrow at the same time, same place. Have a good night.